It was soul-destroying to ask my family for money. I remember counting it at my kitchen table the night before. I left my home here at 8 in the morning. Catriona came in. I handed the envelope to her. I got a handshake to say that I'm here, I'm helping you. I drove down that road the happiest person in the world. I thought I finally got there. I got the break that I deserved. What could possibly go wrong?
An elaborate con to defraud people, many at their most vulnerable. We unravel the workings of the fraud.
Let's come clean here, let's come clean. The folio in the place, Catriona, is in a guy's name. So then how does Carey's fault own it?
Who gave you that information?
Lies and excuses at every turn.
You're doing what we said you were going to do. I'm so sorry about all the delays. Truly am.
And we track down those involved.
Definitely, it'll be going out before the end of this week, right?
Including the former sports star who heads the operation. Catriona Carey, Paul Murphy here from RT Investigates. I'd like to ask you about your business and your business practices, please, if you have a moment. It's 2019 and the effects of the economic and housing crashes are still being felt by tens of thousands of homeowners across the country. Sharon O'Riordan, a HSE chef, was in financial difficulty and at risk of losing her family home.
It's just so overwhelming and so black. It's terrifying because without a home, you're nothing. Where'd you go next? How do you start again? There's so many things in your head. It's just going so constantly to the point, in my case, of burnout, and became very ill because of it all.
This is the local post office and shop. It's also home to Patsy Finnegan and his wife Mary. In 2006, their son, who ran a haulage business, approached them with an offer to buy their home, shop and coal yard.
They're running a small country business. It's a service as opposed to a job. I mean, if you got paid by the hour, you'd be the richest man in Louth, but you don't get paid by the hour. So it gave Mary and I a bit of financial security, and perhaps in the fullness of time we might ride into the sunset and have a bit of a life of our own.
I was doing very well at work. I had 6 or 7 trucks hired into Coca-Cola, and there was plenty of money around, and I approached my father to say, would he sell me the place?
Colin bought his parents' home and their business with a large bank loan, but within a few years he had lost his Coca-Cola contract after the financial crash.
It's left me under serious financial pressure, and things started to go downhill from then. We just got in trouble with banks and the whole lot.
Unable to meet his repayments, repossession was only a matter of time.
It was my grandfather's home. It's in the family 100 years. You don't like to lose your family home, especially to see your parents been put out on the road. That was a massive worry.
Phil Conway and his partner Miriam Tormey were in a similarly desperate situation. Phil had lost his job after the crash of the Celtic Tiger and had fallen into arrears on his mortgage. By 2019, they too were facing the loss of their home.
It was on my mind constantly. It was constantly on my mind. No matter what, it always just jumped in there. Even if something good happened, it was outweighed the goodness, just this constant weight. You know, I just didn't see, there was no way out.
It was just our world crashing down around us. You know, there was nowhere for us to go, nothing that we could have done. It was stressful, very stressful.
All 3 families were in a desperate situation. And in 2019, they thought their fortunes were about to change.
Catriona Carey now on the right-hand side. Oh, and that's a free in just outside the circle.
Super run by Carey.
A barrister introduced them to a Kilkenny businesswoman, former sports star who played hockey for Ireland and camogie for her county, Catriona Carey.
My impression of Catriona Carey was a very down-to-earth, staunch, respectable, hard-working woman.
Always asked after my kids, was the kids okay? Yeah, how are the kids? How's my parents? You know, seemed very genuine.
A mother who understood a person's predicament, and she had the ability and the brain and the finance to help.
Catriona Carey also trained as an accountant.
I knew she was an accountant. It gave more kind of credibility to this conversation I was having with her.
It was very reassuring that she had seemed to have such a circle of people in the right places.
I didn't question it at all, not one bit.
Catriona Carey is also owner and sole director of Carysford Asset Estates Limited, which is registered in England and is not to be confused with the Irish registered Carysford Capital.
He said, look, we're just basically an Irish vulture fund.
But a friendly one.
You know, we want to do our bit. We don't want to see people turfed out of houses. You know, we want to help. Totally. Hook, line and sinker. You know, I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Since the financial crash, there has been much newspaper and other media coverage of banks selling bad mortgages to other banks and vulture funds at big discounts to get them off their books. It's in this climate that Catriona Carey had a proposition for would-be clients. She told them that Carysford Asset Estates would buy their debt from their lender at a discount. So, for example, if a person in mortgage difficulties owed their bank €300,000, Carysford might buy this debt from the bank for €100,000. The outstanding balance would be written off by the bank as a bad debt. Carysford would then sell back to the client for the price it paid. In this example, €100,000. It would then provide a new loan. With the original debt gone, people would have new mortgages with lower monthly repayments, helping them to stay in their home. And Carysford would make its profit from the interest rate on the new loan. It seemed like a win-win.
The absolute relief, you just can't explain the feeling. It's like lifting the world off your shoulders. You can actually breathe again. You can actually look forward.
You're out of financial trouble. You can start your life again and get on with things.
Lifted our spirits and give us the strength to go on.
At the time, in my mindset, I was like, there was no other way. There was no other option. You know, that was it. This is my way out, and I grabbed it with both hands.
But Catriona Carey's company wanted money up front, a deposit. And in each case, it was a different amount, usually between 10% and 30% of the proposed new loan.
They were like, well, look, we can't take you seriously until we get a deposit. We'd need, you know, a €20,000 deposit off you.
It was Patsy that came up with the 15,000. It wasn't my 15,000 because I hadn't got it.
5,000 at that time was, it was every penny that I had in my possession and more because I had to borrow it quickly from family members.
For some, Catriona Carey requested that the deposit be paid in cash.
No banker's draft, no banker's transfer. It had to be cash.
And for others, the deposit had to be wired to a Carysford Asset Estates account in Belgium or Germany.
I didn't really think anything of it because I said, well, at least it's not going to a country outside the EU. I don't even think I thought that. It was like Germany. Sure, they're our neighbours. You know, they're only next door. I didn't question it. You know, I thought she has a company in England as well. She probably has one in Germany. You know, a German bank account. Didn't question it.
The mortgage wasn't in Miriam's name, but she borrowed €20,000 from the credit union to help out her partner.
I never had a loan for that amount of money ever. I was fearful. I didn't know them, But I trusted Phil and the hard work. I've seen the hard work Phil's put in to trying to save this house.
Within a short period of time, all three received an agreement from Carysford.
I received the contract from Catriona Carey.
It was on Carysford Assets headed paper.
It had details of the amount I had to pay, and it was doable when it came to repayments.
They were giving me the money to be repaid over a period of 10 years.
We had to sign it, and Catriona countersigned it, making it like legally binding. It was a contract, but all our signatures were on it.
Under the agreement, there was a section specifically about the deposit.
It was clearly stated in the contract that the deposit was refundable if Carysford didn't perform.
Couldn't miss it, like, if you weren't happy with how they were performing or how they were delivering this service, that you could get your money back.
That said a lot to me, that they were trustworthy and they knew what they were doing.
The families waited. Then, in late 2020, they got what appeared to be good news from Catriona Carey. By this stage, it was just over a year since Sharon O'Riordan had paid her deposit.
Before Christmas 2020, I got an email from Catriona Carey saying that their business now was concluded with the mortgage company and they were preparing the contracts for final signing in January of 2021. The relief was just unbelievable. It's just this lightness that comes about you, where you're lifted out of the dark and just the doom and gloom of life, as I would have known it up here. And it was just a very light feeling to have all of this finally concluded and behind you. It was my Christmas miracle.
But January came and went, and nothing happened for Sharon. And nothing happened either for Miriam and Phil. They had by now been waiting over 12 months, and yet Catriona Carey continued to reassure them.
She kept in contact the whole time, you know, even phone calls just out of the blue for Phil, you know, just reassuring him to let him know that things were going ahead. You know, like, how can you doubt that?
I genuinely believe that. All I know is that any question I asked her, she replied with, you know, with a kind of a convincing answer.
As the months passed, Phil sought an update on Carysford's progress. Catriona Carey assured him that a deal was nearly concluded and that her company had already bought their mortgage from the lender. Last March, Phil sent Catriona a text. "Is my house owned by Carysford now?"
"Philip, our company owns your house."
But Miriam and Phil were still getting letters from Cabot, the company acting on behalf of their lender to chase the arrears on their mortgage.
So I said to Phil, why is Cabot still sending letters to you when Carysford owns the house? He was saying, well, Carysford said that'll happen for a little while and then they'll just stop coming. Well, they didn't stop coming.
And Catriona Carey continued to assure them that they had bought their mortgage. In June of last year, Phil texted again. "Is anything happening today? Cabot are calling me a lot and sending out letters."
"Philip, to reassure you, our company bought the contracts for your debt and property. Regards, Catriona."
By the summer of 2021, at least 18 months had passed since they paid their deposit. People are still waiting for Carysford to complete the deal with their old mortgage provider and issue the final contracts.
Every third day, every second week, it was, oh yeah, the contracts should be there. Oh, it's just a delay on post. You'll have it by courier. You'll have it this evening. Somebody had a brain hemorrhage. Somebody had a car crash. It was always like tragic excuses.
Excuse after excuse after excuse after delay. Still no sign of contract. Very frustrating. I'm just as frustrated as you. All this kind of stuff. And the sympathetic voice talking to Catriona, she'd be like, I know I'm really frustrated as well, Phil. This is terrible. I feel your pain. There's always something. There's always something in the way, you know. And it was just dragged on and on and on.
And all the while, Catriona Carey kept insisting the contracts would come, keeping hope alive for Miriam and Phil.
We're very close to finalising. All the best, Catriona. Hi, Phil. We're at the end. Hi, Phil. We're on track for next week. We're on track for tomorrow.
When Catriona Carey took Phil and Miriam's deposit, she told them the deal would take 6 weeks. By now, nearly 2 years had passed, and the dashed hopes were starting to take a toll on the couple.
It's just this constant letdown, you know, frustration, you know, starting to affect our relationship, like, because it was Miriam who got the money and she's going, there's something wrong here, Phil. There's something really wrong. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
I haven't been a nice person. It's the stress coming out, and it just came out in every single different way. We did argue a lot because of them. You know, we did. We almost fell out totally.
In part 2, Colin Finnegan confronts Catriona Carey.
So I will get my £15,000 back if I want my £15,000 back.
Absolutely. We have a contract together.
Okay.
And if I don't perform, you get your money back.
Okay.
Over in Louth, the Finnegans were anxiously waiting for updates on their deal to save the property where Colin's parents, Patsy and Mary, live and work.
You kept thinking to yourself, well, maybe it will be okay. You're clutching at straws. You don't want to see your parents thrown out on the road.
Hello. How are you?
It's bad. Any store? All's quiet. You're hoping against hope that, yes, maybe they're not telling lies. Maybe that there is something at the end of it.
Catriona Carey continued to delay and reassure the Finnegans their contracts were on their way. A full 21 months after they paid their deposit, Catriona Carey introduced them to Damien, who she said was a solicitor acting for Carysford.
Got a phone call one Monday morning. This guy came on. He said he was acting as solicitor for Carysford Assets. He says, you'll have your contracts in the next couple of days. I says, that's great. Who am I speaking to? You're speaking to a guy called Damien.
But like Catriona Carey, the Carysford solicitor Damien had an excuse when Colin asked to meet to get his final contract.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, I have to take a few days off. I will email your contracts. Regards, Damien.
A week later.
I'm in court tomorrow. Will be with you Friday by close of business.
And 2 months later.
I cannot attend today due to an ongoing high-profile court case. Regards, Damien.
Despite the delays, the Finnegans kept hope that Catriona Carey and Carysford would deliver what they had promised. But something was about to happen that would undermine their faith in her.
One Sunday morning, a guy arrived in. He says, I see you're for sale. I said, sale? Yeah. He says, on Bidex.
Bidex1 is a property auction site which includes distressed properties where the loans are in default.
So I went down and looked at Bidex, and fair enough, there she was up for sale. I got in touch with Colin, who had been speaking to Catriona Carey, and got him to contact her and ask her what was the matter.
In February last, Colin sent a text. Hello, Catriona. I've just seen the property on Bidex1 for auction. Could you please advise?
Colin, our team put this up as part of our strategy. Please keep this to yourself, and we do not want others to know how we work. We have this already bought, as explained many times.
The Finnegans were still worried, and Colin sought reassurance again. Hello, Catriona. Any chance you could give my father a call? He's feeling very anxious. Maybe you can put his mind at rest.
Colin, just called him. He's happy now. Kind regards, Catriona.
The following month, before the auction, Catriona reassures Colin again.
Colin, we had purchased it well in advance. I'll be in touch very shortly with contracts for signing. Regards, Catriona.
You're just left in limbo, wondering, is it true? Is it all lies?
You were still hoping for a positive answer, despite the fact that you know deep in your heart and soul that you were wrong.
And Catriona Carey's reassurances were in fact a lie. The Finnegans' neighbour had placed a bid on the property.
The neighbour rang here on the Friday evening of the auction and told us that he got a phone call from Bid X1 to say that his bid was successful.
It was all over. The neighbour down the road bought the place. Well then, end of story.
Yet Catriona Carey was undeterred. Even though there was no way she could sell the property to the Finnegans because she didn't own it, she continued to lie, saying that the contracts were on their way. In April last, 6 weeks after the property was sold, Colin received a text from Catriona.
Colin, can you call down to Kilkenny on Monday to collect contract? Sorry, can we change the meeting?
She repeats the same twice in September.
We are finalising all and getting ready to send tomorrow. Colin, contracts are done and we'll be with you next week via An Post. Regards, Catriona.
In early August 2021, the Finnegans, Sharon O'Riordan and Phil and Miriam thought they may be the only ones who were dealing with Catriona Carey. But that was all about to change.
The first alarm bell was when a guy called Andrew contacted me through WhatsApp. There was a number of people in this WhatsApp group, I think possibly about 15, 16 people in it. And initially, my first thought was, what the hell's going on here?
The first message I sent out on the WhatsApp group was, "Hi guys,
Andrew Hickey was another client of Catriona Carey. He had given Carysford €15,000 in relation to a commercial property deal which never happened.
Catriona Carey made so many promises and so many attempts to tell us, we have your contracts almost done now. In the back of my mind said, there's something not right here.
Andrew came across the numbers of other clients after a text was sent accidentally by someone connected to Carysford.
I realised I need to do something about it. Whether I get my money back or not is irrelevant, but I wasn't going to let these people just get away with what they were doing.
The WhatsApp group brought bad news that some didn't want to hear.
There was just so many damning messages coming through this WhatsApp group. I just couldn't handle it because my whole life and world was imploding again, and I wasn't able to engage with it because I was too beyond broken at this stage.
Not knowing what to believe, Phil Conway contacted Catriona Carey.
So I contacted Catriona and she says, you're not to listen to that guy. He's after doing an awful lot of damage to Carysford. He's out to ruin her reputation. He's a bit salty about a deal that didn't go through or to his liking, and now he's trying to kind of, get his own back on us.
It wasn't just Catriona Carey that tried to discredit Andrew Hickey. Texts containing defamatory and untrue allegations about Andrew were sent to clients from a mobile phone associated with her company.
So they tried to smear me and my person, to blacken my name and blacken me and discredit what I had been saying and what I had said on the WhatsApp group. It was upsetting when I heard that, but it didn't deter me. I knew I had to go forward. I knew the truth would come out in the end.
In November, the Finnegans decide to confront Catriona Carey. She still maintains her company owns the property, even though it was bought by a neighbour.
Hi, Colin.
And she tells Colin his contract is on the way.
The good news is Damien is releasing contracts now.
Genuinely, Catriona. Catriona, I have a text message on my phone from December 2019 saying that I have my contracts in 2 weeks. Here we are.
Correct.
Here we are,
Correct.
November 2021.
Correct. No, that's 100% correct. We have been fully wrong in what we have done and said.
Let's come clean here. Let's come clean. The folio in the place, Catriona, is in a guy's name.
And you're saying the folio is in his name. Okay.
So then how does Carey's Fort own it?
Who gave you that information?
We looked it up ourselves.
Say that again?
We looked it up ourselves.
Okay, I looked that up.
Right.
It doesn't take long to look it up. I look it up, and either way, you get your money back. If that's the case, you get your money back. That's it.
Okay.
If that's what you want, no problem. Just come and be straight, and you don't be coming and say, just if that's what's happened, that's what's happened.
Well, how has it happened, Catriona?
I don't know. I don't believe it to be the case, but if that's what you said on the phone, I'm going to look it up.
Okay. So I will get my £15,000 back if I want my £15,000 back.
Absolutely. We have a contract together.
Okay.
And if I don't perform, you get your money back.
Okay. Can you refund the money, the 15,000?
That's fine. Okay.
When do you intend of that back?
Next 2 weeks.
Right. No problem. That's fine. Cheers.
Nearly 3 weeks later, and despite multiple calls, Colin still hasn't gotten his money back. He tries Catriona Carey again.
You have dialed cannot be reached at the moment. Please try again later.
No answer. It's going to our message minder. The chances of getting the money back looks to be very, very slim at the minute. But we'll just have to sit down, regroup, and see what other options is open to us. I really don't know. We'll just have to sit down and think about it. You feel a failure. The fact that the property has been in our name for over 100 years. My grandfather was in it, my father was in it, I was in it. I'm the one that's losing it. So you feel a bit of a failure, yeah.
A few hours later, Catriona Carey calls Colin back with another promise. The return of the deposit was delayed, but it would soon be repaid, she said.
Hi, Colin.
Hi, Catriona. How's things? Catriona, I didn't see that thing in my bank account yet. The deposit.
No, we're only doing that next week. I'm only getting to meet Damien this week, so it'll only be done this week.
It'll be done this week, will it?
Yeah.
Right.
Bye, Colin.
Thank you.
Bye.
By now, Colin knew he had been defrauded. But it was different for another client of Catriona Carey. After the break, we hear from James.
Sorry, guys.
Hi, no, you're all right.
Having a quick chat there.
And we meet Catriona Carey in person for the first time. James does not wish to be identified. When we met him in October, he was still hopeful that he would get his contract. He too had fallen into arrears on his mortgage and was under growing financial pressure.
I was suffering with stress and anxiety. You don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. You can just foresee it getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Catriona Carey offered the same solution that she did to others. Her company would buy his home loan from his lender and offer him a new and manageable mortgage. But he had to pay a large deposit up front.
They required €35,000 as a deposit. I did have reservations handing over €35,000 when realistically I couldn't save that money. That was money that was left to me. A parent had to die to leave that money.
James's lender is Start Mortgages, and as the months passed, like the others, Catriona Carey told him repeatedly that they had done the deal in principle with Start. But as James was included in Andrew Hickey's WhatsApp group, he was getting suspicious, so he phoned Start.
So I rang Start and I spoke to a man. He'd no dealings with Carysford. He told me that they weren't selling off my loan to any third party, and he'd never heard of them. Was shocked, got that sick feeling in your stomach. But yes, I was still hoping maybe there was a plausible explanation.
James wanted to meet Catriona Carey and put this to her. This would be the first time they would meet in person, and he filmed the meeting. James was accompanied by his wife.
Sorry.
No, you're all right.
Having a good chat there.
No, you're grand.
James explains to Catriona that he had called Start Mortgages and was told that they had had no dealings with Carysford.
And I rang Start and the girl goes, oh, there's no dealing. There's no...
The girl.
Yes.
The girl. Remember that? We deal with the legal body.
Right.
Start. So the girl in the office may be working from... I'm not just saying...
Yeah, no, yeah.
She may be still working from home.
Yes.
The systems have not been updated.
Yes.
COVID.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that from your own job? Like sometimes I feel...
Yeah. They don't update, yeah.
Now you can confirm it. I'm glad you did, because I don't want to be saying this and you deal with the legal office, right? So the contract comes from Start's legal department. We buy the contract from the legal department, not from the girl at the front desk.
Yes.
So the system has not been updated
Yeah.
and won't be updated until we complete the contract. I'm glad you know that yourself, because then you're not going to get raised if this one is telling me.
And Catriona Carey goes further. She says they've already paid Start.
There's no...
Paid Start.
Okay. Yes.
But we haven't closed it because we're not buying it to put it in our name.
Yes.
We're buying it to give it back to you. Then Start, leave. They leave your home.
Yeah.
They're gone.
Yeah.
Debt is wiped at that stage.
Yeah.
James asks if things don't work out, will he get his €35,000 back? Catriona assures him her company is flush with cash.
God, please God, everything does work out. But if it didn't, just say for some reason, the 35,000 deposit.
Is in ours. We have funding in our...
Yeah.
If we look at our UK accounts, right, if we want to be sure, companies in the UK,
Yeah.
we put in a note in the accounts
Yeah.
that were just filed last week because we were held up COVID filing, and it said that we have substantial funds in our accounts.
Yeah.
And she reassures him the final contracts completing their deal are on their way.
The most important thing is to get the contract out in front of you so you know that we did buy the debt. We said, we set out to do a deal with you and we're going to do it. And the contracts are leaving today or Monday.
Yeah.
I'm standing over that now because I'm tired of everybody being upset. Post it out and you have to go to a solicitor to get it signed. We're doing what we said we were going to do. I'm so sorry about all the delays. Truly am. I'll ring you on Monday. I'll know exactly how many.
Okay, that's perfect.
I'll ring you and confirm it properly.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Catriona Carey's reassurance has managed to keep James's hope alive.
I haven't given up fully, but I'm very close. If I think about it rationally, I know I'm being stupid and being naive, but I'm clinging on to it. But this is why I think it probably works for these fraudsters. You don't need a huge amount of hope to hold on to something. You know, if someone has a serious illness, if a doctor said you have a 2% chance of surviving, you'll hold on to that 2%. But if you think about it logically, there's 98% of you is thinking, no, it's gone.
Catriona said she'd call on Monday, but she didn't. A couple of days later, James called her.
Jen, how are you?
She insists again that her company has already bought his mortgage from Start.
We paid for your contract. All the money would have been paid 6 or 7 months ago. We agreed a contract price with them. They agreed a contract price with you.
Yeah.
And from our end, we have our part done, but we haven't finished it off until you sign it off.
All right, Catriona, thanks for the
Talk to you later.
call. It turns out to be a scam. I'd be devastated. The devastation, it's you've just so many emotions going around in your head. The fact that it wasn't even my money, that it was left to me by my dad, betraying him. Look, that was his money. And just have squandered it. Let down, sorry, I've let down my family, let down my dad.
Another 2 weeks pass and James's contract still hasn't arrived.
It's starting to get cruel. You're a person that's suffering stress, anxiety, because you're dealing with a fairly big financial problem and their house is on the line. They're toying with that. They're playing with you. They're giving you hope. And then they're taking it away from you.
James calls Catriona Carey again.
I was just wondering, Catriona, what the story is with the contract.
They're going out by courier. The contracts are there. The contracts will be signed off and released.
Have you seen the contracts?
Yes, I've seen them, and I've seen the money transferred for them.
So when you said you've seen the money transferred, that's the money that was used that you paid start.
Yeah, part of your deposit plus our money, because we would have paid over our money as well. So all that was done.
It's just the stress of this. That's all. It's just because it's dragging out, and we're planning anything for the future until this is sorted.
Yeah. You can't escape from it.
No.
Yeah. I hear you, because I'm worried for you. I know. I'm on your side.
All right.
Good luck. Bye. Bye.
James asks Catriona to get Damien, the man put forward as the company's solicitor who is supposedly holding the contracts, to get in touch. Soon after, they speak on the phone.
Hello? Definitely, we should be going out before the end of this week.
No, because I was explaining to Catriona that, he's cruel.
We'll explain that to you when we sit down with you, right?
Okay. You definitely have the contracts. They're ready.
100%.
Yeah, and the deal is done with start and all.
Everything was done 100%, yeah.
Okay, so they just
we're going back into the court here now, and I'm under pressure for time. So.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
But Damien was lying. So was Catriona Carey. Within days, James received written confirmation from his mortgage provider, Start, that Carysford had not bought his loan. We confirm that legal title to your mortgage remains with Start, which continues to be responsible for its administration and management, Start said.
Hope now's evaporated, it's gone. You've a mixture of emotions. You've anger. You feel stupid for engaging in the whole process. Most of it is, it's like you're gutted you're not going to see this resolved. You have that sick feeling in your stomach.
Catriona Carey had lied to Phil and Miriam too. She had told Phil her company had bought his mortgage, yet in October Phil was informed it had been bought by a financial company which has no connection to Carysford Asset Estates.
They're trying to ruin people who are doing their best to get on in life, and they don't care. They targeted hard-working people, people that needed an out to get themselves back on the straight and narrow, and they took advantage of that.
Again, it wasn't just Phil Conway and Miriam Tormey. It was the same for Sharon O'Riordan. Her lender, Start, told her last month that neither Catriona Carey nor her company are authorised to act on her behalf in relation to her debt, and that they have not located any correspondence on file from Catriona Carey or Carysford.
To give someone hope and then take it away from them, it's playing with people. Just, I just got it myself. I can't wonder. Sorry, no.
Throughout the course of our investigation, we spoke with 18 people who said they had been defrauded by Catriona Carey's company. Combined, they paid around €500,000. Rory Adamson paid €35,000. Saeed Yazdani paid €30,000. Liam Power €25,000. Two others who did not wish to be named paid €60,000 each. Yet nobody received their final contracts, and Carysford still had all the client deposits, which according to the initial agreement were refundable. People who asked for their money back didn't get it. At the meeting with James, Catriona told him that Carysford had ample money in its accounts to repay his €35,000 deposit.
We put in a note in the accounts that were just filed last week because we were held up COVID filing, and it said that we have substantial funds in our accounts.
And she repeated this in a phone conversation with him, saying she had just submitted her end-of-year accounts.
I signed them off yesterday, and it shows where we have 8 million in property transactions not closed because of COVID. So it does say it on our accounts, our chartered accountants put that in for us. I wanted it to be in, so at least there's comfort there that there's funding available.
We checked the filed accounts, however. There is no reference to €8 million of property transactions. The company's current assets, which include cash, show a net balance of the sterling equivalent of €34,000. Not even enough to repay James's deposit. It wasn't just the claim about an €8 million that simply didn't exist. There was more to the deception. Catriona Carey signed emails with FCCA as if she was a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, a respected title. We contacted the ACCA and they said we do not have an active member with the details you provided. She also included the initials AITI, suggesting she was an associate of the Irish Tax Institute, another respected title. Again, we contacted the Irish Tax Institute and they confirmed they have no record of anybody of this name. Catriona Carey also signed off emails saying her office was in 25 Merrion Square in Dublin, a prestigious address. We asked the owners of the property if she or Carysford are tenants or were ever tenants. They were not. And what about the person Catriona Carey put forward as the company's solicitor? She said his name was Damien. We cannot mention his last name for legal reasons.
Hi, Damien.
Nobody had met him in person, but we know what he sounds like from the call he made to James.
Everything is done 100%, yeah. Going back into the court here now and I'm under pressure for time, so...
There's only one solicitor who is listed in the Law Society as a practicing solicitor with the same name. I called him and got through to his answer machine. It's clear from his voicemail that it's not the same person as the so-called Carysford solicitor. We later spoke with the real Damien and he confirmed that he has absolutely nothing to do with Carysford. He further confirmed that his name was used by Catriona Carey and her company without his knowledge or consent. After we informed him, he said he is referring the matter to Gardaí. So the person Catriona Carey put forward as the company solicitor, Damien, was not a solicitor, but an imposter. So who is he? As part of this investigation, we came across an audio clip. The voice sounded very similar to the recording we had of the supposed Carysford company solicitor.
We'll explain that to you when we sit down with you, right?
We compared the two clips and they sounded identical.
We'll explain that to you when we sit down with you, right?
The voice is this man's, John Stedmund. He's a 45-year-old window fitter from Wexford. He's not a solicitor and has no legal training. We asked him to provide a statement to RTE Investigates for inclusion in this programme, but he did not do so. In our investigation, we learned that Catriona Carey has a conviction under the Theft and Fraud Offences Act. She was convicted in February 2020 for the theft of €6,948 and for forging a cheque from a Kilkenny hairdresser who had hired her as his accountant. She was given an 8-month suspended prison sentence. We also discovered that what Catriona Carey was offering to buy mortgage loans and sell them back wasn't even legal. Carysford has never been authorised by the central bank and it's a criminal offence for an unauthorised firm to buy such loans. We wanted to speak with Catriona Carey and put the findings of our investigation to her. We repeatedly contacted her to arrange an interview, but she did not respond. We recently caught up with her. Catriona Carey, Paul Murphy here from RTE Investigates. I'd like to ask you about your business and your business practices, please, if you have a moment. So people paid a lot of money to you to get you to negotiate with our lenders, but you didn't do anything. Would you like to comment on that?
My solicitor is handling everything for us, Paul.
You told people that you had bought their property, but that wasn't true, was it? What about the people who said it's very people who gave you money were very desperate. Miss Carey, if you could just stop for a couple of minutes, please. I'd like to ask you some questions. We followed up with a detailed list of questions, and Catriona Carey responded to some of them. She said that she could not speak about any client due to strict confidentiality clauses. She denied that her company had falsely used the name of a solicitor. She also said her company has funds to cover all clients' deposits, but was not advised to refund clients at this point. The impact on those who Catriona Carey defrauded goes beyond money.
I do suffer from depression, and they put it under a magnifying glass times 100. That has been hard, really, really hard. They treated us like fools, and we aren't. We're just trying to get our lives back on track. It's more than money, it's our lives.
It's very hard to think there's people out there that would, could do something like that to someone that's in financial distress. I told her on numerous occasions how it was affecting me mentally, stress and anxiety, and she empathises with me over the phone, but behind it all, she obviously doesn't care.
I genuinely, believe it or not, at this moment in time, I feel deeply sorry for the people who perpetrated this. I mean, how do you live with yourself? How do you live with yourself? I'm not a walking saint. Every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future. I genuinely feel sorry for them in the context that how can they live with themselves?
Phil and Miriam are still paying back the €20,000 they borrowed from the credit union to pay Catriona Carey. A possession order remains on Sharon's house. The neighbour who bought the Finnegans' property has assured them that Patsy and Mary can stay in their home. James and his wife are getting on top of their arrears and are no longer in danger of losing their home. All those who told their stories in this programme have complained to Gardaí about Catriona Carey and Carysford. We are aware of at least a further 10 people who have also reported her to Gardaí.
We'll have to just leave it in the hands of the guards, and hopefully, fingers crossed, justice will be done.
It's just a dirty, rotten thing for any human to do to another. I know there's lots of bad things happening out there. There's no need for this to happen. Please God, she won't get away with doing it to someone else who mightn't be able to handle the destruction that can follow.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this programme, you can find help and support information on rte.ie/support.
Do that. He imported a well drilling company from Pennsylvania.